we get everybody started? Great. This is Jackie with All Access, and I'm here with Sydney Sirota of Echosmith. We are at the Nashville, Tennessee stop, our final stop of the Vans Warped Tour. Before we get started talking about music, well, it's sort of about music, what was it like to introduce Joan Jett at the AP Awards?
That was awesome. I mean, obviously everybody knows who Joan Jett is, and whenever...
Google it.
If you don't know who she is, sorry. But it was cool because even when I would bring up the fact that I was introducing her, everybody who heard it, no matter how old they were or who they were, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. Especially the girls loved it, of course. But she's made such a big difference in just music in general, so it was quite the honor to get to even meet her, let alone introduce her in front of all those people. So it was a really fun experience, my first time doing something like that. And I mean, talking isn't my strong point on stage. I'd rather sing, but I was like, okay, I read normal and I sounded okay, so whatever. And I think I did all right.
I think you did as well.
Thank you.
I can only imagine the thoughts that would run through your head when they told you about that. I can't imagine. But let's get focused on some Echosmith music. Your single, Cool Kids, has been a huge hit. Radio loves it. The fans here at Warped love it. Why do you love it?
I love the response to it. Because obviously, I mean, it's not like we dislike the song or anything. Obviously, we like the song. We wrote it. But it's cool to see how people are responding to it in different ways. Whether it's, oh my gosh, this song's so catchy and I know it really well and I really like listening to it with my friends. Or... sometimes we hear this song saved my life, or I really relate to this song, and this defines, how I feel right now, or how I felt years ago, or things like that. So it's really cool to see how it's connecting with people in all sorts of ways, on deep levels, on just fun levels. So it's really cool to see how it's going with people.
And you mentioned that fans are relating to it. I think that kids tend to turn to music when things get tough. What sort of songs or musicians did you turn to? I know you're still a teenager, technically, but even now or several years ago.
Well, I found there's a band called The National, and they're very chill music, I guess is a good word to describe it as. And I mean, even when I'm feeling happy, but even when I'm feeling sad, happy, whatever it is, for some reason their music just works for whatever mood I'm in, and it just makes me feel very calm. Because their music is just very soothing, and their latest record is just very awesome. And I listened to it probably over 100 times by now, and it only came out like a year ago. So, I mean, that says something.
It better be good after all those plays.
Yeah, and I still like it. I still want to listen to it. So that album is kind of the go-to that I have, and yeah, I really enjoy it, always.
Well, and your family is, as an understatement, say, quite musical. What were some of the influences that you, and Mom is awesome, I met Mom earlier, listened to growing up that had an influence on the sound that you've created?
I mean, there's been a lot of, influences in general that are musical, but also at the same time there's a lot of just artists and street art and just life experiences that have influenced our band and us as people. But, I mean, living in LA is helpful because you get to see so many shows and you get to see so many... I mean, there's a lot of street art there, which is kind of crazy because it almost is like, is that vandalism or, is it cool? You know what I mean? But I love it. I don't care. But it's really cool to just see where inspiration can come from. It can come from anything. And, having a very musical family is really helpful, too, because... we all share similar experiences, but at the same time, we all have individual, perspectives on life. So it's a really interesting way to be inspired and to write songs with each other because there's a lot of components coming into one, and that's why our songs are the way they are, because all four of us are involved in different ways. So we've gathered inspiration from everything that you can think of. Even food or something, if we're stoked, it might be because of food, and we might write a song because, about other things, but it might inspire us somehow, I don't know.
Food can be inspiring, there's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, that's a form of art in my opinion. It's a good art. My favorite art.
Me too. You mentioned, living in LA, you recently, I think it's a few months ago, performed on the Conan OBrien show. How did you prepare for a live television event, or a recorded television event, rather, and how is that different from what you guys normally do on stage?
Well, you have one song to prove yourself. That's the first thing that's very different, because it's usually, even if you have something happen wrong in the first song. It's like, okay, well, I have like at least 6 other songs left, or 9, or whatever, however long your set is. But for that, it's one song, and you just hope and pray that everything goes okay. And luckily, thank God, it went well. And we all felt very proud of it. Obviously, I'm still watching it and like, dang it, I wish I sang that different, or I sounded a little funny there, But it was a very successful night, I would say. I mean, and I was very nervous. I was so freaked out before, and I just remember going to Coffee Bean like twice, and I was like, I just need coffee. I need to just not, a lot of people go to worse things when they're feeling stressed out, so I think if I go to coffee, I think that's a pretty good sign.
That's a safe vice to have.
Hey, if anything, it'll just mean I'm just more hyper, whatever. Hey, you can never be too hyper, in my opinion. But, I was very nervous, and I was just, there was a lot of, hoping and praying that everything would be okay, and it worked. So here we are, and we had a successful first late-night television appearance.
And it's another milestone. You've played Warped last year as well. What sort of lessons did you learn, or sort of tips that you gathered that you made sure that you remembered for this year?
Well, I really learned that hard work pays off. And sometimes it doesn't pay off, in front of your eyes, and you don't get to see the payoff. But it's really important to realize that, someone's always watching, and even if it's just yourself, that's enough. And we really try to put in all our efforts to Warped Tour, even though we are a very different band than everybody else, and we have a very different sound, and we're young, and we have all these different things about us, but we decided to embrace it and still put ourselves out there. And last year we would wake up at 7 every morning, put up posters, and walk up and down the lines with free pins and free CDs, asking people to listen to us and come to our set. And we would do that all throughout the day, too, and do a whole bunch of acoustic sets and signings and things like that. So we really did the work last year. And this year we're also doing it in a different way, too, because we do radio now, so we can't necessarily walk up and down the lines. But we've seen how that's paid off this year, to see how much bigger the crowds are in the number, but also the passion has grown, too. So it's cool to see how there's growth in every form. So, it really is paying off, and that's all we're hoping for, and growth is happening, and that was our goal from the start. So,
and you mentioned that your fans are passionate. What sort of things are you doing at Warped to give the fans sort of a way to talk with you, even if they can't talk with you?
Yeah, well, we have, obviously all of us have social media, so if they happen to not be able to come to a signing, because we'll do at least one signing a day at our tent before or after our show, which is always really nice because that's nice and long, especially this year, which is awesome because, we don't have it, so you have to, buy something, anybody can come, and we usually don't cut it off unless the venue cuts it off and tells us, okay, people have to be out by 9, but we try to make time for everybody, and if we are walking around, and if I have time to take a picture, I will, but at the same time, it's difficult because sometimes you're running places, and you never know, what impression people will get if you're busy, but at the same time, we try our best to communicate with our fans as much as possible, and sometimes you can't, and sometimes you run out of time, and there's only so many people that you can meet in one day, because you have to play a show eventually too.
I'm sure they'd prefer that as well.
Yeah, maybe. But we do try to connect on stage too, and use that time as, a time to connect with them, and a time to communicate with them in some form, whether it's just eye contact or just a smile or a wave, and that goes a long way, and it's crazy to see how much that can do for a person too.
And your live sets are very fun to watch. There's lots of different things going on. Why is it important to make yourselves stand out, and what do you do to stand out in front of fans?
We just try to have fun. And the fact that we have a smile on our face, it's hard not to look at somebody and smile back. If they're smiling at you, it's really hard to, have a straight face, in my opinion. I know from my experience, I'm like, okay, fine, and, there's a lot of bands, and everyone has their own thing. There's a lot of bands who are more hard or more angry, but we're the happy band. We're the band that loves joy, and we love each other, and we love our fans, and people express love in different ways. Some people want to, flip off the crowd, and some people don't, we don't.
No, they don't. It's okay.
Everyone has their own thing, whatever, and I'm not bagging on anyone, I'm just stating facts, but for us, we just try to have fun in general, and we try to do our own thing and be ourselves, which is ending up being unique, which is really cool to see how that's working, because we're not trying to be like so stand out, you know what I mean? But we try to be ourselves anyway, and we're kind of just different people. So we're bound to stand out a little bit, especially here at Warped Tour. So it's really cool to see how it's working.
It's nice to also see that Warped's always been diverse, but to be more pop friendly, which is definitely good to see. Talking Dreams came out last October, and last month, it's still July for a few more days, last month you released a summer sampler. What are the benefits of doing a sampler?
Well, for us, since it's acoustic, this one that we just released, it was a nice little refresher for us, and probably the fans too, because our album has been out for a little bit, but it's not like it's been out forever. But it is nice to put something else out that people can hold on to. And we did put another new song on there, because there's 4 that were already on the record, and then 1 new one. So that was a nice little, okay, here you go, here's a taste of, us right now, but, we're not putting out a new album yet. And that won't be for a while because we're touring on this album. But it was nice to just have something else new. And obviously when you're a musician, you like to create, and you like to take a step back from touring sometimes and create something new. So that was really nice, and I think that the fans really appreciated that we did something like that. Something exclusive for Warped Tour, at least the physical copies were only here. So it's a really cool thing to see how people are responding to that, and to see how people act to new songs when they already know us. So it's a nice little feeling.
Another nice feeling, causes and charities. Are there some things that are really important for you guys to that you'd like to work with in the future still, or work with now?
Yeah, well, we're really open to all sorts of charities, and I mean, charities are awesome, and nonprofits and all that stuff. But I mean, anything that's helping out people, we're okay to support, obviously. And even I started. Speaking of, I was making these emoji paintings just for fun. And I was like, well, you know what? I don't really need the money. Like, when I sell them, it's not like I need to make $20 or something on it. So I decided to donate the money that I make to World Vision. And I think that's a really great cause, because they're helping kids and helping towns and communities and things like that. And it's so funny because we worry about what we're going to wear every day. And it's like, geez, there's people who are worrying about eating every day. And that's a way bigger problem, in my opinion. And a lot of people, and everyone has their own issues, and everyone's issues are real. And I totally think that's fine. Because I deal with other things too. But at the same time, I think it's really important to have a big picture perspective on bigger problems that people are dealing with that we just take advantage of. So I really appreciate World Vision and other organizations like that that help out people who have very unfortunate problems. But yeah, so that's like one thing that I'm investing in now, but I'm open to a lot of them, and yeah, we're all very supportive of the nonprofit world.
That sounds like a fun way to start giving back. So what's up next for Echosmith after Warped Tour? I'm sure it doesn't end anytime soon.
Lots of touring. We are touring with American Authors, the first half of their tour on the Honda Civic one. And we have some other tours that we're going to announce soon. And we'll be doing some other opening shows and some other headlining and things like that, and other radio shows in town. So we're really excited to just play.
Always staying busy. Stay tuned for much more from Echosmith. This is Jackie. Thanks to All Access and In the Key of Change. All right. I don't normally do this, but it's my last day at Warped Tour.